Imagine your best friend, the guy you've known since kindergarten, stealing the love of your life right under your nose. That's exactly what happened to me. But I didn't just sit back and take it. I plotted, I planned, and I exposed him in front of everyone. This is my story of revenge, betrayal, and the ultimate comeback. It all started on a chilly autumn evening in New York. The city was bustling with its usual energy, but for me, Richard, it was just another day. I was a 28-year-old software engineer with a promising career and a beautiful girlfriend, Emily. We had been together for 3 years, and I was planning to propose to her on our upcoming anniversary. Everything seemed perfect, or so I thought. My best friend Jake had been by my side through thick and thin. We grew up together, shared secrets, and even started a small tech business together. Jake was the kind of friend who would drop everything to help you out, or so I believed. We had known each other since kindergarten, and our bond was unbreakable, or so I thought. One evening, I decided to come home early from work to surprise Emily. I had been working long hours and I missed spending time with her. As I walked into our apartment, I heard laughter coming from the living room. I thought it was just Emily watching a movie, but as I got closer, I realized it was Jake's voice. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. I peeked through the slightly open door and saw them, Jake and Emily, sitting close together on the couch, laughing and sharing a bottle of wine. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Jake, my best friend, and Emily, the love of my life, were sharing an intimate moment without me. I quietly retreated, my mind racing with a million thoughts. I needed to confront them, but I also needed to gather my thoughts. I spent the night at a friend's place, trying to make sense of what I had seen. The next day I confronted Emily. She admitted to having feelings for Jake, but insisted that nothing physical had happened between them. I was devastated. I felt betrayed not just by Emily, but also by Jake, the person I trusted the most. I broke up with Emily and cut all ties with Jake, but the pain and anger didn't go away. I needed revenge. Over the next few days, I tried to distract myself with work, but the image of Jake and Emily together kept haunting me. I couldn't focus, and my performance at work started to suffer. My colleagues noticed the change in me, but I couldn't bring myself to tell them what had happened. I felt embarrassed and ashamed, like I had failed as a boyfriend and a friend. One day, while I was sitting alone in my apartment, I received a text message from Jake. He wanted to meet and talk things out. I hesitated, but curiosity got the better of me. I agreed to meet him at a nearby cafe. As I sat across from Jake, I could see the guilt written all over his face. He tried to explain himself, saying that he had developed feelings for Emily and that he couldn't help it. He begged for my forgiveness, but I couldn't bring myself to forgive him. I told him that our friendship was over and that I never wanted to see him again. The days turned into weeks, and the pain of betrayal lingered. I found myself questioning everything: my relationship with Emily, my friendship with Jake, and even my own judgment. I started to isolate myself, avoiding social gatherings and spending more time alone. My friends tried to reach out to me, but I pushed them away. I was consumed by anger and bitterness, and I didn't want anyone to see me like that. One day, while I was scrolling through social media, I came across a post from Emily. She had shared a photo of herself and Jake, looking happy and in love. The caption read, "Sometimes the best things in life happen when you least expect them. Chakra new beginnings." I felt a surge of anger rush through me. I couldn't believe that Emily had moved on so quickly, and with Jake of all people. That was the moment I decided that I couldn't let Jake get away with what he had done. I needed to expose him for the fake friend he was. I started by digging into Jake's past. I knew he had a history of manipulating people to get what he wanted, but I never thought he would do it to me. I reached out to old friends and acquaintances, gathering information about Jake's past indiscretions. I found out that he had cheated on his college girlfriend with her best friend, and that he had stolen business ideas from former partners. With this newfound information, I started to formulate a plan. I knew that Jake and Emily were still seeing each other, and I decided to use that to my advantage. I created a fake social media profile and started following Emily. I sent her messages, pretending to be an old friend of Jake's, warning her about his past. I knew that Emily was smart and would eventually figure out the truth. Meanwhile, I started working on a new business idea, something that Jake had always been interested in. I made sure to drop hints about it in front of him, knowing that his curiosity would get the better of him. I set up a meeting with a potential investor, making sure that Jake found out about it. I knew he wouldn't be able to resist the temptation to steal my idea. As I sat in my apartment, plotting my revenge, I felt a sense of satisfaction. I knew that exposing Jake wouldn't bring Emily back, but it would give me the closure I needed. I was determined to make Jake pay for what he had done, and I wouldn't stop until I had exposed him for the fraud he was. The stage was set, and the plan was in motion. I was ready to take down Jake and reclaim my dignity. Little did I know, the journey to revenge would be filled with unexpected twists and turns, testing my resolve and forcing me to confront my own demons. But I was ready for whatever came my way. I had been betrayed, but I wouldn't be defeated. The days following my decision to expose Jake were filled with a mix of anger and determination. I knew I couldn't just confront him directly. I needed a well-thought-out plan that would leave no room for him to weasel his way out. I spent countless nights brainstorming, jotting down ideas and refining my strategy. My apartment became a war room, with notes and diagrams scattered across the walls and tables. First, I needed to gather more evidence. I started by reaching out to old friends and acquaintances who had known Jake over the years. I was surprised by how many people were willing to share their stories. It turned out that Jake had a long history of manipulation and betrayal. One friend told me how Jake had stolen his business idea and passed it off as his own. Another shared how Jake had cheated on his college girlfriend with her best friend. The more I dug, the more I realized that Jake's betrayal of me was just the tip of the iceberg. I compiled all the information into a detailed dossier, documenting every instance of Jake's deceit. I knew that this evidence would be crucial in exposing him, but I also needed something more immediate and impactful. I decided to set a trap, one that Jake wouldn't be able to resist. I started working on a new business idea, something that I knew Jake had always been interested in. It was a cutting-edge software project that had the potential to revolutionize the tech industry. I made sure to drop hints about it in front of Jake, knowing that his curiosity and greed would get the better of him. I set up a meeting with a potential investor, making sure that Jake found out about it. I knew he wouldn't be able to resist the temptation to steal my idea. The investor was a friend of mine who agreed to play along. We set up the meeting at a high-end restaurant, ensuring that Jake would be impressed and eager to get involved. I made sure to leave my laptop open with the project details visible, knowing that Jake would snoop around when I wasn't looking. Meanwhile, I created a fake social media profile and started following Emily. I sent her messages pretending to be an old friend of Jake's, warning her about his past. I knew that Emily was smart and would eventually figure out the truth. I planted seeds of doubt in her mind, hoping that she would start to see Jake for who he really was. As the day of the meeting approached, I grew more anxious. I had set everything up perfectly, but there was always a chance that something could go wrong. I double-checked every detail, making sure that nothing was left to chance. I even practiced my confrontation speech in front of the mirror, ensuring that I would be calm and collected when the time came. The day of the meeting finally arrived. I dressed in my best suit, wanting to look confident and in control. I arrived at the restaurant early, setting up the hidden cameras and microphones that would record everything. I had chosen a private room, ensuring that there would be no interruptions. As I waited for Jake to arrive, I felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. I knew that this was the moment I had been waiting for, the chance to expose Jake for the fraud he was. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what was to come. Jake arrived right on time, looking eager and excited. He greeted me with a fake smile, trying to act like nothing had happened between us. I played along, acting friendly and enthusiastic about the project. We sat down and started discussing the details, with Jake asking questions and trying to impress the investor. As the meeting progressed, I could see Jake's greed taking over. He started to take credit for my ideas, trying to pass them off as his own. The investor, playing his part perfectly, asked Jake for more details, which he couldn't provide. It was clear that Jake had no idea what he was talking about. I watched from a nearby room as Jake stumbled through his pitch, trying to pass off my idea as his own. The investor, playing his part perfectly, asked Jake for more details, which he couldn't provide. It was clear that Jake had no idea what he was talking about. After the meeting, I confronted Jake. I showed him the footage, exposing him for the fraud he was. He was shocked and tried to deny it, but the evidence was undeniable. I told him that I would expose him to everyone, including Emily, unless he came clean and apologized. Meanwhile, Emily had been doing her own digging. She had found out about Jake's past and realized that he had been manipulating her all along. She reached out to me, apologizing for her part in the betrayal. I forgave her, but I made it clear that I couldn't trust her again. With the plan in motion, I felt a sense of satisfaction. I knew that exposing Jake wouldn't bring Emily back, but it would give me the closure I needed. I was determined to make Jake pay for what he had done, and I wouldn't stop until I had exposed him for the fraud he was. The day after the meeting, I woke up with a renewed sense of purpose. The footage I had captured was crucial, but I needed to ensure that Jake couldn't squirm his way out of this. I spent the morning reviewing the recordings, making sure every detail was clear and undeniable. I edited the clips, highlighting the moments where Jake's deceit was most evident. Next, I reached out to a few trusted friends who had also been betrayed by Jake in the past. I shared my plan with them, and they were more than willing to help. We decided to organize a gathering at a local bar, inviting all our mutual friends and acquaintances. I knew Jake wouldn't miss an opportunity to show off in front of everyone, especially if he thought he had the upper hand. I sent out invitations, making it seem like a casual get-together to celebrate a recent milestone in my career. I made sure to include Jake, knowing he wouldn't be able to resist the chance to gloat. The responses started pouring in, and everyone was excited to attend. The night of the gathering arrived. I had set up a projector and screen in the bar, ready to play the footage of Jake's failed pitch. I arrived early to make sure everything was in place. My friends helped me set up, ensuring that the technical aspects were flawless. We tested the equipment multiple times, leaving no room for error. As people started to arrive, the atmosphere was lively and energetic. Everyone was catching up, laughing, and enjoying each other's company. Jake arrived fashionably late, as expected, with Emily by his side. They looked happy and in love, but I could see the tension in Emily's eyes. She knew something was off, but she hadn't quite figured it out yet. I mingled with the crowd, making small talk and ensuring that everyone was having a good time. Jake tried to approach me a few times, but I brushed him off, focusing on my other friends. I could see the confusion and annoyance on his face, but he didn't push it. As the night wore on, I decided it was time to make my move. I stood up and made a speech, thanking everyone for coming and talking about the importance of friendship and trust. I could see Jake's smug smile, thinking he had gotten away with his betrayal. But I was about to shatter his world. "Tonight, I want to share something with all of you," I said, my voice steady and confident. "Something that has been weighing heavily on my mind. It's about trust, betrayal, and the true nature of friendship." I could see the confusion on everyone's faces, but they were intrigued. I nodded to one of my friends who dimmed the lights and started the projector. The screen came to life, and the footage of Jake's failed pitch began to play. The room fell silent as everyone watched in disbelief. Jake's face turned pale as he realized what was happening. He tried to interrupt, but I silenced him with a stern look. The footage played on, showing Jake's desperate attempts to pass off my ideas as his own and his eventual failure. When the footage ended, the room was still silent. I could see the shock and disgust on everyone's faces. Jake tried to defend himself, but it was too late. The evidence was clear, and everyone could see the truth. Emily stood up, her eyes filled with tears. She confronted Jake, telling him that she knew about his past and that she wanted nothing to do with him. Jake tried to plead with her, but she turned away, unable to look at him. Our friends turned against Jake, disgusted by his actions. They started sharing their own stories of betrayal, revealing how Jake had manipulated and used them over the years. The atmosphere in the room shifted from lively to tense, as everyone realized the extent of Jake's deceit. I felt a sense of satisfaction as I watched Jake's world crumble around him. He had betrayed me, but I had exposed him for who he really was. I had gotten my revenge, but it came at a cost. I had lost a friend and a girlfriend, but I had also learned a valuable lesson about trust and loyalty. As the night wore on, people started to leave, shaking their heads in disbelief. Jake stood alone, his face a mix of shock and anger. He tried to approach me one last time, but I turned away, not wanting to hear his excuses. Emily stayed behind, wanting to talk to me. We sat down at a quiet corner of the bar, and she apologized for her part in the betrayal. I forgave her, but I made it clear that our relationship could never go back to what it was. We both needed to move on and focus on our own lives. As I left the bar that night, I felt a mix of emotions. I had exposed Jake and gotten my revenge, but I had also lost a part of myself in the process. I had learned valuable lessons about trust, loyalty, and forgiveness, and I was determined to use those lessons to build a better future for myself. The execution of my plan had been flawless, but the aftermath would be a journey of healing and self-discovery. I was ready to face whatever came my way, knowing that I had the strength and resilience to overcome any challenge. The days following the gathering were a whirlwind of emotions. I had exposed Jake in front of everyone, and the news spread like wildfire. Our mutual friends reached out to me, expressing their shock and support. Jake, on the other hand, disappeared from the social scene, unable to face the people he had betrayed. I took a few days off work to process everything that had happened. I spent time alone, reflecting on the events and trying to make sense of my feelings. I felt a mix of satisfaction and sadness. I had gotten my revenge, but I had also lost a friend and a girlfriend in the process. A week after the gathering, I received a text message from Jake. He wanted to meet and talk things out. I hesitated, unsure if I wanted to give him the satisfaction of a confrontation, but curiosity and a desire for closure got the better of me. I agreed to meet him at a quiet park near my apartment. The day of the meeting arrived. It was a chilly afternoon and the park was almost empty. I sat on a bench, waiting for Jake to arrive. I felt a mix of anxiety and determination. I knew this would be our final confrontation, and I wanted to make sure he understood the gravity of his actions. Jake arrived a few minutes later, looking disheveled and tired. He sat down next to me, avoiding eye contact. We sat in silence for a moment before he finally spoke. "Richard, I'm sorry," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I never meant for things to go this far. I got caught up in the moment and made a huge mistake." I looked at him, my expression unyielding. "A mistake? Jake, you betrayed me. You stole my girlfriend and tried to steal my business idea. That's not a mistake. That's a deliberate act of betrayal." Jake sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I know I was selfish and stupid. I let my ambition and jealousy get the better of me. I never meant to hurt you, but I did. And I'm truly sorry." I listened to his apology, but it felt hollow. I had heard his excuses before, and I wasn't about to fall for them again. "Jake, your apology means nothing to me. You've hurt too many people, and you need to face the consequences of your actions." Jake looked at me, his eyes filled with desperation. "What do you want me to do? I'll do anything to make this right." I shook my head. "There's nothing you can do to make this right. You need to own up to your actions and start making amends, not just to me, but to everyone you've hurt." Jake nodded, his shoulders slumped in defeat. "I understand. I'll do whatever it takes to make things right." I stood up, looking down at him. "I hope you mean that, Jake, because actions speak louder than words. You need to prove that you're truly sorry, not just to me, but to everyone you've betrayed." With that, I turned and walked away, leaving Jake alone on the bench. I felt a sense of closure, knowing that I had said what needed to be said. I didn't expect Jake to change overnight, but I hoped that he would take my words to heart and start making amends. As I walked back to my apartment, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I had confronted Jake and made my feelings clear. I had gotten my revenge, but I had also learned the value of forgiveness. I knew that holding on to anger and bitterness would only hurt me in the long run. Over the next few weeks, I focused on rebuilding my life. I threw myself into my work, determined to make my new business idea a success. I also reached out to old friends, reconnecting with people who had always been there for me. I realized that true friendship was about trust, loyalty, and mutual respect, and I was determined to surround myself with people who embodied those values. Emily and I remained friends, but we both knew that our relationship could never go back to what it was. She had betrayed me, but I had also learned to forgive her. We both moved on, focusing on our own lives and careers. Emily started seeing someone new, and I was genuinely happy for her. I wanted her to find happiness, even if it wasn't with me. As for Jake, he disappeared from our lives. He moved out of the city, unable to face the people he had betrayed. I heard that he was struggling to find work, his reputation tarnished by his actions. I didn't feel sorry for him. He had made his choices, and he had to live with the consequences. The confrontation with Jake had been a turning point for me. It had forced me to face my own demons and learn the value of forgiveness. I had exposed Jake for who he really was, but I had also learned to let go of the past and move forward. In the end, my story of revenge and betrayal had a bittersweet ending. I had exposed Jake and gotten my revenge, but I had also lost a part of myself in the process. I had learned valuable lessons about trust, loyalty, and forgiveness, and I was determined to use those lessons to build a better future for myself. The confrontation had been a necessary step in my journey to healing and self-discovery. It had forced me to face my own emotions and learn the value of forgiveness. I had exposed Jake and gotten my revenge, but I had also learned to let go of the past and move forward. As I looked back on everything that had happened, I realized that revenge was a double-edged sword. It could give you a sense of satisfaction, but it could also leave you feeling empty and alone. I had exposed Jake and gotten my revenge, but I had also learned the value of forgiveness and the strength of the human spirit. In the weeks that followed the confrontation with Jake, I found myself in a state of reflection and introspection. The initial satisfaction of exposing him had given way to a deeper understanding of the complexities of human relationships and the importance of forgiveness. I realized that holding on to anger and bitterness would only poison my own well-being. I decided to take some time off work to focus on myself. I spent my days exploring the city, rediscovering the beauty of New York that I had often taken for granted. I visited Central Park, walked along the High Line, and even took a ferry ride to the Statue of Liberty. These moments of solitude allowed me to process my emotions and gain a new perspective on life. One afternoon, as I sat in a quiet cafe, sipping my coffee and watching the world go by, I received a message from Emily. She wanted to meet and talk. I hesitated for a moment, unsure if I was ready to face her again, but ultimately, I agreed. We decided to meet at a cozy little bookstore downtown, a place we both loved. The bookstore was quiet when I arrived, the soft hum of conversations and the rustling of pages creating a soothing atmosphere. Emily was already there, browsing through a shelf of classic literature. She looked up as I approached, her eyes filled with a mix of sadness and determination. "Thanks for coming, Richard," she said softly. "Of course," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. We found a quiet corner and sat down, the weight of our shared history hanging heavy in the air. Emily took a deep breath before speaking. "I wanted to apologize again," she began. "I know I hurt you deeply, and I can't take that back. But I want you to know that I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I realize now how wrong I was." I listened, my expression neutral. "I appreciate that, Emily, but actions speak louder than words. You need to show that you've changed, not just tell me." She nodded, her eyes welling up with tears. "I know, and I'm trying. I've been seeing a therapist, working through my issues. I realize now that I let my insecurities and fears get the better of me. I should have trusted you more and listened to my heart." I reached out and gently squeezed her hand. "I forgive you, Emily, but we can't go back to what we were. Too much has happened." She wiped away a tear and smiled sadly. "I understand. I just want you to know that I'm truly sorry, and I hope we can be friends again someday." I nodded, feeling a sense of closure. "We can try, but it will take time." We spent the rest of the afternoon catching up, sharing stories, and laughing at old memories. It felt good to reconnect, even if it was just as friends. As we parted ways, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I had forgiven Emily, and in doing so, I had also forgiven myself. Over the next few weeks, I threw myself into my work with renewed vigor. My new business idea was taking shape, and I was determined to make it a success. I hired a small team of talented individuals who shared my vision and passion. Together, we worked tirelessly, brainstorming, coding, and refining our product. As the project gained momentum, I also made an effort to reconnect with old friends. I organized regular get-togethers, inviting people who had always been there for me. We shared stories, laughed, and supported each other through the ups and downs of life. I realized that true friendship was about trust, loyalty, and mutual respect. And I was grateful to have such amazing people in my life. One evening, as I sat in my apartment, working on a particularly challenging piece of code, I received a surprising email. It was from Jake. My initial reaction was to delete it, but curiosity got the better of me. I opened the email and read his message. Richard, I hope this email finds you well. I've been doing a lot of thinking since our last conversation, and I realize now how deeply I hurt you. I can't take back what I did, but I want you to know that I'm truly sorry. I've been working on myself, trying to become a better person. I've started volunteering at a local community center, helping kids learn to code. It's been a humbling experience, and it's taught me the value of giving back. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I hope that one day we can at least be civil to each other. I miss our friendship, and I regret the choices I made that led to its demise. Take care, Jake. I read the email several times, my emotions a mix of surprise and skepticism. I wasn't sure if I believed Jake's words, but I appreciated the effort. I decided to reply, keeping my message short and to the point. Jake, thank you for your email. I appreciate your efforts to make amends. Time will tell if your actions match your words. For now, let's focus on moving forward. Richard. As I hit send, I felt a sense of closure. I had forgiven Jake, not for his sake, but for my own. Holding on to anger and bitterness would only hurt me in the long run. I had learned the value of forgiveness, and I was determined to let go of the past and move forward. In the months that followed, my business continued to thrive. We launched our product to rave reviews, and investors started knocking on our door. I was proud of what we had accomplished, and I knew that this was just the beginning. I also continued to nurture my friendships, surrounding myself with people who brought positivity and support into my life. Emily and I remained friends, and we even started collaborating on a few projects together. Our relationship had evolved, and we were both happier for it. As for Jake, he kept his word. He continued to volunteer at the community center, and I heard from mutual friends that he had genuinely changed. He reached out to me a few times, but I kept our interactions brief and professional. I was willing to forgive, but I wasn't ready to forget. Looking back on everything that had happened, I realized that my journey had been one of growth and self-discovery. I had been betrayed, but I had also learned the value of forgiveness and the strength of the human spirit. I had exposed Jake and gotten my revenge, but I had also learned to let go of the past and move forward. In the end, my story of revenge and betrayal had a bittersweet ending. I had lost a friend and a girlfriend, but I had also gained a deeper understanding of myself and the world around me. I had learned valuable lessons about trust, loyalty, and forgiveness, and I was determined to use those lessons to build a better future for myself. As I sat in my apartment looking out at the city skyline, I felt a sense of peace and contentment. I had been through a lot, but I had emerged stronger and wiser. I was ready to face whatever came my way, knowing that I had the strength and resilience to overcome any challenge. And so, as I wrap up my story, I want to leave you with a message of hope and forgiveness. Life is full of ups and downs, but it's how we respond to those challenges that define us. So if you're going through a tough time, remember my story. Remember that you have the power to overcome anything as long as you believe in yourself. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel, share this video, and like it if you found it helpful. Your support means the world to me, and I can't wait to share more stories with you in the future. Thank you for watching, and until next time, stay strong and keep moving forward.